Hey guys, welcome to the shop. My name's Adam, and this is going to be the start of the welding table project. So this will be the first video, and I've been spending quite a bit of time getting all my dimensions together and my ideas on how I want to build it. And I've been making notes, making little sketches and drawings, and I made a little sketch right here on this whiteboard to kind of give you an idea of what it's going to look like. I'm not much of a drawer, so this is kind of basic. Definitely not to scale, and it'll look somewhat like that once we're done. So what I'm going to do in this first video is kind of go over my idea on how I want to build it. I've been thinking about it for a while, and some of it's going to be a kind of a new design that I'm going to be hoping that it'll work. And I also kind of took some of the ideas off of my other small little welding position that I've made, and we're going to use some of those ideas that I put into that because it worked fine and it worked good. So we're gonna go over this. I'm going to kind of explain to you what we're going to build, and I've got the plate over there on the table, and we'll go down there and look at that in a minute. The first video here is going to, as far as machine work, I'm going to show you the plate, and I'm going to be laying out the hole pattern for the casters to put into the plate. And once we get the holes drilled into the plate, then we'll move on to another part of the project. And again, there's the face plate down there we're going to use, and the piece of shafting that's going to serve as the center shaft right there. So that's going to come later. Alright, so as far as your basic design goes, this is your face plate here. Alright, we've also got a plate down at the bottom that our casters are mounted to. And in the center here, I've got a big heavy wall piece of tubing that's actually down here. I haven't pulled it out yet, but there's going to be a heavy wall tube. It's a 4x6 tube, and this is going to be 18.5 inches long in the center here, the tube. Alright. There's going to also be a shaft that'll be made out of that piece right there, that 5.5. That shaft is going to be machined so that it screws into the faceplate, and it'll drop down inside of this tube. All right, inside that tube, I'm going to have a bronze bushing. I have some bronze material. We're going to machine a bushing. It'll be a 3-inch ID bushing, so it'll be like 3x4 or 3x4 1/8, 6 inches long. And that's what these red dots represent, is the bronze bushing. Alright, the upper red dots up here, that represents a counterbore that's going to be in that shaft that this thrust bearing is going to go up in. Okay, it's going to be kind of hidden up inside of the shaft. The shaft will sit over the thrust bearing to kind of protect it, and the thrust bearing will be sitting on the face of this tube right here. So your thrust bearing should hold all of your weight, the thrust weight and the downward pressure, and then the bushing will keep it centered and, drive the load there. So the shaft will be turned to 3 inches and fit down inside of that bushing. And another thing that I'm going to do, I'm going to make the shaft a little bit long, and it'll go down past the bushing a little ways. And what I thought I would do is this little thing here on the side is like a little T-handle. I'm going to make a clamp, basically a T-handle. The tube will be drilled and tapped, so I'll be able to screw a handle in there, and that'll serve as like a lock. If I ever want to lock the table to keep it from spinning, I'll be able to reach down and just tighten that sucker up, and hopefully it'll lock it good. I'm going to have an area of the shaft. I've got a little drawing here. I don't know if you can see this because of the glare, but I'll have an area of the shaft that's going to be turned down smaller. And what I may end up doing also, another idea that I've been thinking of, is actually machining a undercut in that shaft that the clamp, the screw, will go up in, and that'll actually also keep the faceplate and the shaft down inside there. Like if I was to go and pick it up this wouldn't just pull straight up out of there. That the bolt up against in that undercut will keep it from coming out. I don't know if I need that feature, but I thought one day it might be useful to have that. So that's kind of serves two purposes there. And I think that's kind of about it right there on what we're going to do. As I said, I've made some sketches right here, and I have corrected all my dimensions because we're going to have a total of a 36-inch height. From the bottom of those wheels all the way to the top of that, I want it to be 36 inches. My welding table over there is 35 inches. So I figured make it 36, make it a nice even number, 3 foot. So I've made my measurements on the height of the wheel and the plate, and then I'll have the height of the tube and the center section of the shaft, and then from there to the top of the faceplate, it all equals out to 36 inches. So at the end of all this, it's going to be kind of like a little challenge to see how close I can get to 36 inches. We'll see how many 16ths I'm off, if any at all. But based on just the numbers, I've got everything written down. It should equal 36 inches. So I've got a drawing of what the shaft will look like. This part's threaded. That's going to screw into the faceplate. This area right here is the solid part of the shaft. Your thrust bearing is going to be sitting inside this area here. There's your 3-inch turn section that's going to fit down inside the bushing. And then this is another section down below that that'll be turned and undercut for the lock bolt. So it'll be sitting in there like that. It'll drop down in there. Should be pretty simple enough. The thread is going to be kind of tricky, but that's a 4-inch, 4-pitch, 4 threads per inch. So it'll be a big, heavy, coarse thread that we got to machine on that. And then get in here and doing this, cutting all this out where that thrust bearing is going to fit up in there. That'll be a real interesting job to do that. I've got a little bit of dimensions here on the tube itself. I still haven't marked where I want the lock bolt, the T-handle to go in. We're going to define that once we get closer to that point, but that'll be the bushing right there. It's going to be 18.5 inches. I'm sorry, the housing, 18.5 inches long, and then you'll have a bronze bushing pressed in on this side right here. All right. I've also got some other dimensions wrote down here as far as my bolt pattern for the casters. I got that. The diameter of what the casters is going to be on is 29 inches. All right, and I got some other dimensions that I need to know that's wrote down there. All right, so I think that kind of covers what we're going to be doing. And this is one of those deals where, like I said, I've been thinking about it for a long time. I always try to make things simple. Okay, I don't want to overcomplicate things. There's 1,000 ways that you can do this job. There's other ways to do it that some people may think would be better. Specifically like making it mechanize it to have a drive motor to make it turn. I don't want to do all that. I just want a simple, lazy Susan, basically what I want. And it's mainly just going to be a work table that's going to sit out here in the middle of the shop. And once in a while we might be using it for welding. So I wanted to eliminate electronics and gear motors and things like that. All right. So that's what my idea behind this is. Okay, so we'll go over to the table and I'll show you what we're going to do next. All right, so here's the bottom plate. And so it'll look like that once these casters are mounted on there. And this is the plate that I got some help from Tom Lipton. He actually drew this up for me. I was kind of consulting with him and asking some, his opinion on a couple things, and he brought up some good points on where your wheels should sit, compared to the diameter of the faceplate that's going to be up on top. It is going to be pretty heavy. So he was thinking that I need to put the wheels close to where the diameter of the faceplate is, and so we started agreeing on that. And then I told him, I said let's add some big old sweeping radiuses up in between there, kind of give it a little bit different look. It's kind of like opposite of what the faceplate on top is going to look like. So this is what we come up with, and thank you, Tom, for drawing this up for me. And the burn turned out good. I had my friend Joe down at the welding shop. He burnt this out for me and supplied the material and everything. So we've got to do some cleanup. Usually the plate that they have down there is gets a little rusty, and so we got to do some dressing, some deburring and cleaning up, and get it looking good. All right, so what I'm going to have to do is lay out a hole pattern, and this could be something very simple enough as taking your scale and just kind of centering it up on all four of these corners, and even just using a transfer punch and do that. And as enticing as that sounds to do that, I think I want to go ahead and do the layout method. I want to lay it all out and punch all the holes where they're going to be, and then we'll go over there and we'll drill them. Another thing that I decided to do is, instead of doing through holes and bolting them on, with a bolt, nut, and a washer, I think what I want to do is drill and tap the holes, have blind holes. So that's going to be a little bit harder, a little bit more work, but the idea behind that is, on the other side, you're not going to see 16 bolt heads pulled down to the plate. It's just going to kind of give it a little bit cleaner look. So, and I actually have a bunch of these 3/8 bolts here that was in my rotary bin, and they're the perfect length, as long as I don't drill all the way through the plate. So I'm going to try to set my stop on all the holes at like 5/8, because this is a 3/4 plate, and drill it about 5/8 deep. Tap it. I'll have to run a bottom tap in all of them, and by the time I do that, I put a washer here and put it down on the bolts. That should give me like a 1/2 inch of thread there. So that's the plan. So I'm going to go ahead and start getting this plate dressed and deburred, and then I'm going to start laying it out. And I'll show you some clips along the way. I won't show you everything, because it gets a little boring just watching the same old thing. So I'll give you some highlights of how I'm laying it out and things like that. And then once we get it laid out, we'll punch them, and I will lug this down to the milling machine, and we'll start doing some drilling and tapping. Alright, so I've got the edge and the side dressed nice and soft, and I'm going to go, this is my big Black & Decker grinder, around 9-inch, and it's got like a sanding pad on it. I'm going to use it to try to clean the top surface up and see how it does. And then what I'll probably do is come back and probably use one of these rapid strip wheels and see if we can kind of brighten it up a little bit. Well, we'll see how it goes. Alright, that cleaned it up a little bit, but still needs some. So we'll I don't know if I'm going to get all the mill scale off of it or not, but let's go in with one of these and see how that'll do on cleaning it up. Okay, well, it's looks like there was quite a bit of rust buildup on the surface there, which is what I'm really getting off there. I'm not trying to get all the mill scale down to where it's like bare metal, because in the end of the day, this is going to be painted. So I just want a good clean surface, and then we'll when we get done, we'll paint it. So that's looking pretty good. I'm going to go ahead and flip it over and start dressing the other corner on the other side of the plate and do the same thing. Just get it cleaned off, get all the rust and the scale off of it. Alright, so I've got both sides of the plate dressed really nice and clean. It's just down to the mill scale now, but it's cleaned off. All the sides are nicely polished. So I'm going to go ahead and start scratching some lines on here to lay out the whole pattern on all four corners. So what I'll do to start, to find the center, I'm going to come down here to each corner. I'm going to use my hook scale and find the 6-inch width right there. Okay, so I'll just scratch a little line right in the middle, 3 inches. I'm going to do that on both sides here. And I need my glasses there. Even on this layout work, you know, you need to use your eye protection because that stuff can pop up and hit you in your eye. Alright, so I've got a little scratch mark in the center on both ends there. I'm just going to line it up with my 36-inch scale here. Alright. And I'm not using any bluing because this dark mill scale, whenever you put bluing on it, it's kind of hard to see it anyway. It doesn't improve it a whole lot. So I've got a good carbide scribe here. So what I'll do is I scribe basically the mill scale and I'll be able to see it. I know it's probably hard to see it on the video, but I'll be able to see where my lines are. Okay. So, alright, that's we got one line there. Now I'm going to go ahead and repeat the process for this one right here, and then we'll get our center distance where the patterns will be. Okay. Our center to center distance for the casters, the caster mounting plates is going to be 29 inches. So with the X scribed in the center here, you take a scale and divide that in half. That's 14.5 inches. I've got it laid right in the middle, and I just line up 14.5 inches on both sides of the scale there. And once you line up both sides, you're pretty well square and straight. Okay, that looks good. So now I'll hold it there and I'll come down to the end scratch me a line across there. I'm going to just repeat on this end here. Do the same thing. Bring it to 14 and a half on both sides. Okay, that looks good. I'm going to go ahead and repeat that for this side here. Alright, brought you in a little closer. Maybe you can see this. Okay, so we're going to have a 3 3/8 by 2 3/4 hole pattern here for the caster to go on. Alright, and I'm going to work my hole pattern right off of these square lines, okay? And I'm going to try to show you how I do it. So it'll be 3 3/8 center to center this way. Alright, so half of that's going to be 1 11/16. And what I'll do is I'm going to just line this scale up right in the center of this line and line it up on 1 11/16. Okay, make me a scratch. Alright, and we're going to do the same thing on this side. I'm not real good left-handed, but just making a scratch here. Okay. And once you get those, you can square it up with the scale like this. Make a scratch. I'm going to do the same thing with this line here also. Okay, so 3 3/8, you can verify it by looking. That's 3 3/8. That's 3 3/8. Alright, so now you just come to each side of this line. 2 3/4, center to center, so half that's going to be 1 3/8. We'll just line it up here like that on 1 3/8. Alright. And then we'll do the same thing on this other side. Okay, and then you can check it. All right, 2 3/4, 2 3/4. So we're good. And then again, 3 3/8, 3 3/8. So there's our little marks. So let me go find a center punch, and we'll go ahead and punch them. All right, got me a nice little small center punch. I think this is one that Stan sent me, the little proto. And we got the one that Philip Schaefer gave me, and my flea market Blue Point ball peen. So I'm gonna come in, and it's got a nice sharp tip on the end. I just dragged a little to find that center. All right, looking good. All right, all those look good, so I'll grab the bigger one and go ahead and give us a little better punch. Okay, there we go. So we got 1, 2, 3, 4. All right, so that's our 4-hole pattern. Grab a wheel here. We'll just kind of look at it and see if I guessed it right. All right, that's looking good. That's a weird pattern that they put on these casters like that, and I wish they would just make it straight. It's a little easier to figure out what the true center to center distance is. So, all right, that looks like that'll work. And what I'll do is I'll drill and tap one pattern and bolt the wheel on there and make sure that it is going to line up before I do all of them. All right, but that's looking good. It looks like my punch mark's right in the middle of all the slots. Okay. All right, so I'm going to repeat this on all 4 sides. All right, we're set up on the mill table, getting ready to start the holes. Pretty straightforward. Drill it, tap it. I'm going to power tap it to start with, and I'll probably run it back in there with a bottom tap and hand tap all the holes. I got it clamped down in 2 spots to keep it from trying to twist. I find the punch mark with my center point right there. Just line it up, clamp it. I'm not going to center drill it. I'm just going to let the drill follow the punch mark. And I'm probably just going to use my cutting oil for drilling anyway. We might try some of the anchor lube for tapping, but I'm just used to my cutting oil, so I might be using that. All right, I've got me a stop set up here on my quill, one of those quick adjust stops, set at a 5/8 length. So I wish I had a little digital readout up here, but I don't, so I'm going to try to use the little analog method right here. I'm just so used to squirting that cutting oil with my left hand like that, that the dipping, you know, with the paste is a little different to me. Oh, man, I stuck my drill in there and forgot to tighten it up. Okay. Okay. Let's see how that looked. It should be 5/8. Okay. We might try something here with our tapping so we can just kind of get an idea what we like here. Alright, so there's a little bit of anchor lube on the tap. It's not really going to go very far in there because it's not drilled very deep. That should hit bottom right there. Okay, it looks fine. Yep, I have to run the bottom tap in there. Okay. Alright, so let's go to the next step here. Trying to get my bearing straight. Alright. I'll loosen this one. There's the problem with moving this plate around so much. Stupid stud. Tight. I need a better clamp. might do away with this Wilton right height clamp. Alright, this is the one like I got on the other end there. These just slide on real quick, so I might be able to just use these, and you don't have to tighten them up real tight against the table. You just get it real close. Don't need a whole lot. Alright, there's still a little on there, but I'm going to go ahead and dab it again since we've got lifetime supply. Make sure it's coated good. I'm pretty much just watching the tap to whenever it stops spinning. I know that that point's coming down the bottom of that hole. I'm just going to back it out from there because that's giving me plenty of threads that I can follow with a hand tap, and just hand tap it with a bottoming tap. All right, so let's see how this will work. I'll just slide that clamp back. I'm going to do the same thing on this side. Just kind of move it out of the way. All right, there we go. Okay. Alright, I'm just going to keep repeating. Okay, so I decided to just go ahead and dip the drill in the anchor lube since we weren't doing very much. A very deep hole. I think that'll work all right like that. Put just a little bit on our chamfer. All right, recoat our tap a little. Alright guys, I'm just on my last hole now for the first corner. Let me get this one drilled and tapped, and we will I'll run the bottom tap in the holes, and then we'll test fit one of the casters. Okay, I'll bring you back. Alright, got a bottom tap and a nice tap wrench, and I'm gonna run in all four of these holes and tap it to the bottom of the hole like this. That should be it. Alright guys, time to see if it fits. So I went in there with my Typhoon Pro with my needle tip and blew all the holes out, got all the chips out. Well, let's see if I got my hole pattern right. Okay, that's fitting up. My little stubby bolts are working. Alright, I think we got it. We got a touchdown, guys. I think it's a little loose, so you can see I did have a little bit of room for air there, and that's what, you know, I laid it out by hand with just using my scale and a scriber, and as long as you read your lines right, you'll be close enough on something like this. A simple hole pattern that's got plenty of movement. So that's nice, guys. All right, I think what I'm going to do is in this video here, all right, you just seen me do this. I'm going to repeat the same exact thing on 3 more sides, and after that we will move on to another step of the project. Well guys, I couldn't leave you hanging. I went ahead and finished this up. We're going to go ahead and throw it in the video here. And just got them all drilled and tapped. So I'm lowering you down a little bit. Transfer it onto this cart. We're going to go down to the welding table. Alright guys, got them all drilled and it turned out good. I never came through with any of them, so we're going to have a nice flush, clean top side, you know, because this will get flipped over. But I used the anchor lube. I used the anchor lube that Stan had sent me, and I liked it. I just kept dipping my drill and my tap in it every time. And This is a little bit of my fast evaporating cleaner, and I'm just going to give it a little wipe down. You should be able to see it evaporating really fast. And while we're on the subject, I got Stan. He's talking to me right now, actually. I sent him a couple teaser pictures. He's been asking me about it. But so what I'm going to do now, I'm going to try to just finish this out. So I'm going to go ahead and get the casters bolted on, and we'll bring you back and see what it looks like, where it'll finally be able to roll around. All right, guys, look at it. We got her done. That's the base. Man, it turned out pretty good too. I'm really happy with it. It looks fresh and clean and new. I'm really liking the way it's coming out. So again, this was I got some help on the design from Tom Lipton, so thank you, Tom, for helping me with that. And it looks good. So I'm going to get it flipped over, and we'll push it around and see how it feels. Let me see if I can do that real quick. It's going to try to roll out whenever them wheels hit. There we go. I still need to grease those casters. They're dry, and we'll get that done. And I'm gonna do a little bit of cleaning, a little bit more cleaning up here on this. Still got a little rust up here, so we'll get a little bit more of that done and try to clean the top off some. All right, guys. Well, that's about it for phase one. So we got the first part done, and I have not decided what I'm going to start on next. I really don't know. We've got a lot of parts to make, so I'll think some more about it, and I'll let you guys know. I got a couple of little things I got to get done that's come in, so we'll take care of those. And anyway, I'm looking forward to this. I'm getting excited. So we'll see you soon, okay?